Hey Mike, how did Bigfoot Discovery Day 5 go?
Well, Bigfoot Discovery Day 5 went just fine, thank you. It was, we could always use a few more people, but we kind of threw it together in a big hurry once we had discovered that we had this wonderful reel of film from Roger Patterson. It just seemed like the thing to do to get it done and get it and have it on the anniversary, the 45th anniversary. So we could have had more people. We were competing with a couple other Bigfoot events on the same day. There was one in Texas and one in Ohio. But with some interesting people came, and we had some good presenters. And Bill Munns, for example, in his inimitable way, showed how the costume as described by Bob Hieronymus, the man who claims to have worn a costume and walked across the sandbar there for Roger to film. He claimed that the piece was a three-piece suit, and it was made from rubber waders and some old football uniform parts, a helmet, and some shoulder pads and so forth. And Bill just went through the whole process of creating a costume that was the way he described. They used the waders, they used the various parts the way it would have been done if the guy was telling the truth. And of course, when they did that, he had the film to measure, so he was able to determine exactly the size of the mask that would have had to have been made. And it would, of course, have fit all the way over the helmet. And then you had to try and get your head in there and have the eyes hit in the right spot and all this. And he shows how difficult that was and how uncomfortable that mask would have been and what a strange angle it would have been on in order to even function, made to the specs of the creature as you see it in the film. And then the waders, of course, rubber waders for legs. And in the film, you can see muscles moving in the thigh, and you can see the gastrocnemius muscle expand and contract. And of course, you can't do that with rubber waders. You don't see any of that stuff. And then the central piece that fit around the trunk, it was all wavy and bouncy, even with the pad inside, the shoulder pad and so forth. So, I mean, it was just really obvious that the costume as described by Hieronymus just would not work at all to give you the effect that you see in the Patterson-Gimlin film. You know, people say things sometimes, and you have nothing to compare to, and they say it in a deliberate way, like as if it's the gospel truth, because they've done it. And it's real easy for people to just take them at their word and say, oh, okay, rubber waders, oh, I see, yeah. You know, but then you go out and you actually try and do it and replicate the concept and what's been described, and it doesn't work. So Bill Munns has done that. He's also working on showing how the breasts, if the breasts were fake and had been some kind of an appliance that was attached, then when they bounce, which they do in the film in more than one place, they just wouldn't have reacted the same way as a real breast. And he did that by testing breasts, real breasts, and comparing them to prosthetic breasts, and watching the way they jiggle and so forth when you take a step or a hard step, jostle. And once again proved that a fake would not behave the way that the breast does in the movie. It behaves like a real breast. Eventually, I think Bill's going to put this all together, and it'll be one gigantic presentation, and I think it's going to shut the case on the costume thing, because I'm really getting tired of that myself anyway. And I know that was part of what this whole event was about. We wanted to show people that it's not a costume, and we wanted to show the film. And I have here the film. I wanted to let everybody see it before we put it in the hands of Patricia Patterson. This is what a 16mm film looks like. This is a large reel, and it's full. This was referred to by Patterson as the big reel, or reel number 1. The little reel, reel 2, would have been the one with the actual shot of the Bigfoot, and it would have been a much smaller reel. So they played this first, and then they played the other reel. And we played this for everybody to see for the first time up the street at the community hall on Bigfoot Day 5. And we probably had 70 people in attendance at the event there who came. And there was room for more, but it's still a pretty good turnout. We have decided that in the future, when we do our Bigfoot Discovery Days, and this is based on our experience on doing it now 5 times, we found that the summer is a better time. And so I think in the future we'll make it a point to do our conferences in the summer, because we get better attendance, because the kids are still out of school, and so families are you know, they can move around easier. But one of the other things, Bart Catino gave a presentation and showed the thermal video that he shot in the Sierras. He was up there checking into the Sierra Kills story, the one involving Justin Smeja. And by the way, Justin came to the event, and we got a chance to meet him in person. I regret I didn't have time because I was pretty busy trying to, you know, be the host. I didn't get an opportunity to speak to him at length, but Ralph, my right-hand man, had a chance to talk to him, and he said he'd be willing to take us out to the site too. A number of people he's taken out there, anybody who's interested. So he's very open about the thing and willing to talk about it. And I don't know, I said initially that I thought it was a hoax because it just didn't match up with all the other thousands of stories I'd heard about Bigfoot. But that doesn't mean it isn't the truth. And Bart's convinced it is, and his thermal seems to indicate that there are Bigfoot in that area. Surprisingly enough, apparently still there, even though you know, one was shot in the vicinity. And his thermal is very compelling. You can definitely see figures, and when they reenacted it, it certainly did appear that these figures ranged in height from about 6 to 9 feet. And it appears that they're throwing rocks, sort of tossing rocks, just kind of chilling out, and not too far from the main campsite. Bart has this method of going out in the dark, and he'll go in the periphery, leave the main body of people in the expedition around the campfire, kind of, you know, relating and acting normal, and then in hopes of catching a Sasquatch looking in and spying on them, because that's what happened when he got his first thermal image back in 2007. And so he was using a similar approach, and once again got something, saw something, but this time captured it on tape. So that was fun to see. Once again, I got a chance to meet Smeja, and Dr. Meldrum was great that he came and spent some time with us. And he was here partly to meet up with Bill Munns, because they've gotten funding on a project, and that's part of what he showed that night, is this project, and it's being done with Meldrum and Munns working together on producing materials that will prove that the Patterson-Gimlin film is real. And I'm looking forward to that. Now the whole day was videotaped, and the plan is we have a producer who has agreed to produce a videotape about the Patterson-Gimlin film, and kind of revolving it around this new film and our showing of it and so forth. And I'm hoping that we will be able to take this film back up to Yakima, Washington, and hand deliver it to Patricia Patterson. It'd be my first chance of actually meeting her in person. I've only spoken to her on the phone, and I agreed to give her the film, since, you know, obviously it was Roger's, and I don't see who else on the planet would be more entitled to have the film. As a museum, it'd be nice to keep the film in the collection, but we'll have a copy of the DVD, and we'll have it available here to show people should they want to see it. You know, on a one-time basis, time to time. We may show it on and off during the summer as the museum is open and people are moving through. But eventually we will make the thing available on DVD. This producer has connected via us with Patricia. She's agreed to let him do that and to market it. And of course, she'll receive a royalty on the sales. And we're supposed to get a little bit of the action too to help fund the museum. So that's where that's at. And I'm just hoping we'll be able to take that trip up to Yakima.